The Predator franchise is celebrated for its iconic special effects, but actually creating them takes a lot of teamwork, trial and error, and a marriage proposal. Seriously, we'll get there in a sec. 1987's Predator was filmed before the explosion of CGI, back when things that are considered rudimentary today were still difficult to achieve. When it came time to create the visual effect of the Predator stalking his potential victims in the jungle using his cloaking device, the visual effects team, led by supervisor Joel Hynek, had to get creative. Suddenly, he had an idea, a dead ringer for the type of effect they needed to pull off. He explained to VFX Blog, "We had done a commercial for Southern Belle where we had a person in a red suit and they were holding a green orb against the blue screen. I guess that's where the light bulb went off of, okay, we'll put a guy in a red suit and we'll run around in the jungle because the jungle's green and the sky's blue." And so we tried it. It looks… well, there you have it. We won't judge, but my oh my, it was quite genius. They became some of the most iconic shots in the whole film, so Hynek's approach was most definitely justified.
You see it? I see you.
In fact, the scenes with the cloaking device still look great today. The whole movie still holds up, so it's no wonder the effect was considered a major achievement back then. One scene in Predator 2 illustrates just how much detail goes into making a really awesome looking shot. It's when a cloaked predator drops into a wet alley and strides through the water toward villainous King Willie just before eliminating him. Digital tools make this pretty easy nowadays, but it used to be pretty challenging back in the day. This scenario is simple enough with a visible being, but an invisible one? That requires showing the effect of footsteps in the water while also depicting the distortion of the cloak. The usual red suit cloaking trick wouldn't work because the splashes would be obscured by the suit itself. The solution involved rigging tubes through which compressed air would be fired each place the cloaked menace stepped. A motion control camera was used to move along the alley with the compressed air triggering splashes. Another pass was made with a man in an all-white suit wrapped in clear plastic, walking carefully so his feet hit the splash spots at the same time. When combined with the inline mat technique to create the distortion, it made for an almost entirely convincing effect. The Predator is known for its iconic design, which came by way of famed makeup artist Stan Winston. However, Winston and his studio weren't the first to be contacted about redesigning the Predator. The effects house Boss Film Studios created the original rubber Predator suit, though they warned producers that the design would be impractical for shooting on location. Steven Johnson, who took charge of the first suit build, said in a featurette,
"What they needed was a character with backward bent reptilian legs, extended arms, and a head that was out here."
He then went on to say that because they wanted to shoot in the actual jungle in Mexico, it just wasn't possible to pull off, so he told them no. Director John McTiernan later stated in the documentary If It Bleeds We Can Kill It that the original Predator looked awful on camera due to how restrictive the original suit was for the actor. He explained,
"It was impossible to move and it was terrible."
McTiernan did shoot a couple of scenes with the insectoid design before calling up the studio to request more time and money to get it right. Luckily, after McTiernan showed the studio heads a goofy costume, they agreed and let the director take a break in filming so the alien antagonist could be redesigned from the ground up. Stan Winston and his team were brought in and they saved the day. And they turned the Predator from a big puppet into, well, telemoney.
One ugly mother.
It's a compliment, really. It's pretty well known today that Jean-Claude Van Damme played the original Predator, that is, the bug-looking one. While the director and producers hated the initial rubber alien suit, Van Damme arguably hated it even more. The actor reportedly misunderstood the assignment, believing the role would allow him to show off his martial arts skills and make him a star. When he got to the shoot, he soon realized that he was going to be a glorified stuntman, since the suit didn't allow him to show his face or his acrobatic abilities. Van Damme did his best to incorporate his kickboxing skills into the role, but this apparently annoyed producer Joel Silver. According to Joel Hynek, it all came to a head when Silver confronted Van Damme. Hynek explained to VFX Blog, "I'll never forget being in Joel Silver's trailer, and he wanted to put the word out. He wanted to talk to Van Damme. So Van Damme comes into the trailer and Joel says, 'Look, you cannot keep doing that kick. The Predator is not a kickboxer.' And Van Damme said, 'No, I have to do that. He must do that.' Then Joel Silver said, 'Well, forget it then. You're out of here. Goodbye.' This was probably for the best. The crew got a chance to regroup while a better Predator suit was designed, and producers were able to hire an actor more willing to play the role as written. After the new and improved design for the Predator suit was made, the next step was casting. 7'4" actor Kevin Peter Hall was eventually cast in the role.
I am Predator, master of the universe.
His height and physical prowess had him towering over Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was plenty tall himself, making their final confrontation at the climax of the film much more believable than it probably would have been with Van Damme as the Predator. The casting crew had nothing but kind things to say about Hall, with Stan Winston even referring to him as a wonderfully soft-hearted, intelligent, poetic giant of a man in a behind-the-scenes featurette. Despite his imposing stature, Hall was a genuine actor who actually put a lot of thought into who the Predator was. He said,
"You work on the inner things that are going on in the character, just like as you would in any character, in the suit or out of the suit."
Hall would return for 1990's Predator 2 as a different Predator, and he even made an appearance outside of the costume as the helicopter pilot that picks up Dutch at the end of the first film, which was a nice touch. Having evolved in a truly alien environment, the Predator's senses aren't quite the same as ours. It perceives different portions of the electromagnetic spectrum than we do, and its helmet generates infrared images, meaning it displays heat, not visible light. That being said, the filmmakers wanted something different from the pseudo-infrared effects employed in 1981's Wolfen. Infrared film couldn't register body temperature wavelengths, so an inframetric thermal video scanner was used. However, the inframetric system had only half the vertical resolution of a CRT TV. Worse, for the actors to stand out against the backgrounds, the ambient temperature had to be under 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 degrees Celsius. The crew lost 2 days because the jungle set was too hot, resorting to hosing down the vegetation with refrigerated water when the weather was uncooperative. Joel Hynek told VFX Blog that because pure thermography can be somewhat unclear, Predator vision was simultaneously photographed by both thermal and motion picture cameras using a beam splitter or a half-silvered mirror. The setup was rigged on a Steadicam, linked to the inframetrics encoders by hundreds of feet of cable. The two monochromatic images were combined on video and colors were assigned to each shade, yielding a coherent image, an example of which you can see here in a screenshot from Predator 2. The inherent differences between cameras didn't yield perfect image registration, but it was close enough for the effect to work. For the Predator's POV Sans helmet, the film camera footage was processed using a solarization process, so it still looked alien but distinct from the thermal view. In any scene with energy sparking off a Predator's cloak as it activates, deactivates, or malfunctions, any frame where the sparking is off ably demonstrates what the footage looks like minus the effect. So instead of a before and after comparison, consider these two frames from the same scene, in which the animation features an inside joke. Look carefully at the sparks on the gauntlet on the Predator's left arm. The words "marry me" are followed by "pointer." That's the name of animator Donald Pointer, who did effects animation in both Predator and Predator 2. Turns out no one, including VFX supervisor Joel Hynek, knew the little joke was there until a fan named HT Phoenix found it. As related in a video on Fenix's YouTube channel when another fan reached out to the animator, he confirmed the gag as being executed around the time he proposed to his wife and claimed it hidden his name in all but one of the effects animation shots he'd worked on. If you want to see it in the film for yourself, jump to 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 56 seconds. In the pre-digital age of the first two films, such animations were drawn in pencil on pin-registered animation paper. The black-and-white drawings were then photographed to produce mattes and composited and tinted by the optical crew. Did they see the joke? Who knows? Like all the Predator films before it, the alien hunter in 2022's Prey is a big guy in a rubber suit. However, one big difference with this one is that modern technology allows computer animation to augment and enhance the suit, which means they can do a lot more things now versus the 1980s. For instance, while the rubber animatronic Predator head in Prey, which was worn by actor Dane DeLigro, can sometimes be seen on screen untouched, it's often just used as lighting and movement reference. NBC's Chris Ued, who was the visual effects supervisor on Prey, told Before and Afters, "We had a terrific starting point. We cut back to back from the animatronic suit to our full CG Pred to shots where we were just replacing the faces. The suit was so great, so we started with photography, figuring out where we wanted to enhance it." In another example showcased in NBC's VFX breakdown video, we see DeLigro on set in the full rubber Predator suit, where he has both arms intact, even though it was freshly cut off by Naru in the movie. The visual effects artists were able to create a CG model to put over the actor's performance to show his arm missing in the final shot in the film. and it looks seamless. Prey follows some of the same beats as Predator and Predator 2, like an early enemy. Remember, that's why Jesse Ventura was bleeding in the first one.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Right, anyway, Prey does basically the same thing. In the film, Naru stumbles and fails trying to take down various animals before eventually coming into her own, and taking out the Predator in the end. One such scene sees a rampaging CGI bear chasing Naru down before the bear itself is gored by a semi-cloaked Predator. A large blue screen was used for this scene, presumably one of the few done in the studio, since most of the film was shot on location in Alberta, Canada, primarily on the lands of the Stoney Nakoda Nation. To make things easier for Mid-Thunder and allow her to get into the moment, the crew installed some real branches in front of the screen for her to interact with or trying to escape the huge bear. Another animal that Naru comes face to face with in Prey is a dangerous cougar. Naru firmly believes she can take it down, so she follows her brother and another male tribe member on the hunt for it. While on the lookout on a tree branch, Naru and the male tribesman are attacked by the aforementioned cougar, with the tribesman unfortunately killed in the assault. The cougar then goes after Naru, and while she manages to stab the cougar with her spear, she ends up falling from the tree and hitting her head. This scene was achieved in a similar way to the bear scene. In both instances, the animals were rendered entirely in CGI by VFX company MPC. However, a major difference between the two scenes is that a stunt person in a motion capture suit stood in for the cougar, giving the VFX team some reference when rendering the vicious mountain lion. This was also presumably done to help Mid-Thunder with accurate eyelines, and it worked well. It's not only a tense scene, it's also very believable. The Predator 2018's franchise entry introduced a new breed of creature to the films, dogs. However, the Predator-Hounds, or Preda-Dogs, are a bit more than their world's version of Predator's best friend. They have more physiological similarities to the Predators themselves. Stuntmen in skin-tight mocap suits were brought in to mimic the alien hunting dog's movements for the Predator. This would also presumably help with the actor's reactions. In some ways, this harkened back to the actor behind the Predator in the original film. Matte paintings are nothing new in filmmaking. In fact, this old technique can be traced back to the silent movie era, with the first matte painting being used in 1907's Missions of California. Essentially, a matte painting is an image used to extend or alter the background of a scene. Back in the early days of film, matte paintings were either large pieces of art that were present on set, or smaller paintings done on glass panes, which were then composited on top of the previously filmed footage in editing. Or less regularly, the pane of glass was placed carefully in front of the camera and filmed on the day. Nowadays, digital matte paintings are a lot more common. Not only is there more freedom in terms of movement, whether it's camera movement or the background itself moving, but it's also easier to rotoscope actors and other parts of the scenery more easily. Not that there aren't earlier examples of rotoscoping actors and environments into a non-digital matte painting, but it was a lot more costly and arduous to do it back then. So it probably won't surprise you to learn that the matte painting used in 2010's Predators was of the digital variety. In the film, Adrian Brody's disgraced mercenary Royce finds himself on a tropical, forest-covered alien world, alongside a bunch of other specialized killers, where they're hunted by predators.
We found out that there's more than one of them. That they use projectile and energy-based weapons. That they have some sort of cloaking device.
Producers wanted viewers to know that this was a totally different galaxy, and they opted to use a digital matte painting to create an otherworldly horizon to drive that point home. It was created by the VFX house Hybrid, which was no stranger to sci-fi horror blends at this point, having previously worked on Guillermo del Toro's Mimic. Despite CGI having taken great strides by the time Predators hit cineplexes in 2010, the titular aliens in the film were still achieved practically, with suits created by K&B EFX Group Incorporated. However, since the film is set on an alien world, there are other alien creatures that the main characters have to evade as well. One of these creatures is the Hell-Hound, which the Predators have trained as their version of hunting dogs. They use them to sniff out, locate, and weaken their prey. These Hell-Hounds are formidable and terrifying to behold. How did the filmmakers bring these freaky predator pets to life?
As bad as you are. Those things are worse.
The computer animation artists at Hybrid first got the filmmakers to film on empty plate, essentially a filmed element on location with nothing but the scenery. and this empty plate shot was filled with CGI Hell-Hounds after the fact. However, while this is simple in concept, there's a lot that goes into it. For instance, according to a visual effect breakdown of the film shared by Highbride, the animators also added digital shadows to make the creature seem like it was really there. And they even created digital foliage so the Hell-Hounds appeared to be interacting with the environment rather than just pasted onto it.